Hey guys, it's Morgan, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. So in August, my TBR had 9 books, but I only got to read 8 of them, so I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to read all 9, but I am very happy with the ones I did read. So let's get started. So the first book I read in August is called The Meek by J.D. Palmer. So I believe this is supposed to be the first book in a trilogy, but I'm not 100%. I hope it is because the first book was so good. So this book follows a guy named Harlan, and it's kind of post-apocalyptic novel. A bunch of people have died, like billions of people on the planet have died from an unknown sickness. Nobody knows what caused it, nobody knows why certain people survived and why certain people didn't, and so it follows Harlan through his survival of this post-apocalyptic world. He meets good guys and bad guys and people kind of in the middle, and it's just the character development in this is my favorite part, I think. I feel like if you're put in that kind of situation, you do things that kind of feel like they're bad, but if you didn't, then something else bad would happen, and so the moral line kind of shifts and there's a gray area, and so it really comes down to what you will do to protect yourself and those you care about. So I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So the second book I read in August is The Dangerous Days of Daniel X by James Patterson and Michael Ledwidge. So this book, I really liked it the second time around, probably about as much as I liked it the first time, so I'm really happy with that. But it follows this kid, Daniel X, and he's an alien on planet Earth, here to protect humans from bad aliens. There's basically a most wanted list, and he kind of goes through the list and takes out these bad aliens. I've read a few reviews on this book. They didn't like how some of the chapters ended in the middle of a thought, and that James Patterson didn't do that in Maximum Ride. Well, I read Maximum Ride in August too, and he did end some chapters in the middle of a thought, so I don't know if they just noticed it more in this book, or if they just liked the Maximum Ride book so much that they didn't care. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I'm so glad I liked it, because this is my favorite series by James Patterson. I liked this book way more than I liked the Maximum Ride book, so I'm really excited to continue the series. The third book that I read in the month of August is Stormbreaker by Anthony Horowitz. This was one of my favorite series in middle school. It was also one of my best friend's favorite series. So this series follows Alex Rider, and in the beginning of the first book, his uncle dies, and he finds out that he was a spy for MI6 and that he's being recruited to become a spy. And they threaten him and blackmail him into becoming a spy for them, and so he really doesn't feel like he has a choice. So he goes on a new mission in each book, and each one becoming more dangerous than the last. It makes me think of James Bond if he was a teenager. So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The fourth book I read in the month of August is Maximum Ride: The Angel Experiment. So I said that I didn't really like this book as much as I like Daniel X, and it's totally true. I feel like the first half of this book is great, and then you get to the second half, and I feel like he's just trying to make the book longer, putting in more things to drag the story on, I feel like. And so I didn't really like this book very much. I liked it the first time I read it, but I felt like it just kind of dragged on. Like he just kept trying to make the book longer. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. I will continue the series since I have all the books and I haven't read the last one. So the fifth and sixth book that I read in August were Obsidian and Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this book follows the main character Katie and her alien neighbors who are Damon and Dee, and she kind of falls in love with Damon because he's super hot and has all these great powers, and so the series follows her finding out about their alien powers and about the bad aliens who are trying to kill them and the role that the government has in their lives. And so these are kind of just heavy romance novels, so there's a lot of romance in them, but I really like these books. I believe I gave both of them a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I don't really read a lot of romance, but every once in a while I'll get into it, and this is probably one of my favorite romance series. So the seventh book that I read in the month of August is one of my all-time favorite books. It's The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. So in 6th grade, this was a required read, and I got in trouble for reading ahead. But I've read this book several times. It's my favorite by S.E. Hinton. I've read 4 other books by her that are also super awesome. but this is my favorite by far, and it brings me to tears every time. It just is so good, and I finished it pretty quickly. It's only, I think this copy is only about 160 pages, but it's so amazing. So if you don't know what The Outsiders is about, it follows this group of kids who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, and then their rival with the popular kids, and the main character, Ponyboy, and his friend Johnny get into some really big trouble, and they kind of go on the run, trying to not get caught, and then more bad things happen, and more bad things happen, and it's just one thing after another, and it is so sad, but it is so good at the same time. And it's amazing. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. So the 8th and final book that I read in August was The Giver by Lois Lowry. So this is the first time I've ever said this in my life, but I liked the movie better than the book. The movie is one of my favorite movies, and I do feel like if they followed the book just a little bit better, I would like it more than I do, but they did pretty well at following the book. But the reason I like the movie better is because in this book, the main character, Jonas, he is chosen to become the receiver of memory. So when he's 12 and all the other 12-year-olds become 12, they are given their job. So they don't get to pick their job, it's picked for them based on their likes throughout their childhood. And so Jonas is chosen to become the receiver of memory. And through becoming the receiver of memory, he realizes that their utopian life is really not as great as he thought it was. And so it follows him over the course of just over a year. He's receiving these memories and realizing all these things that aren't great, and so the part that I like better about the movie is it goes from black and white and then slowly gains color. And it explains that in the book, but it comes across so much better visually. It's so stunning, and the memories in the movie are beautiful, and that is why I like the movie better, but the book is really awesome too. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I'm kind of bummed that I didn't like it as much as I hoped, but it was still good. So that is it for my August wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed reading all these books, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!